Today is Monday, November 20th, 2023. And if we could all stand first for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm Sue Smith, Chairman of Town of Pompey Planning Board. Quick introductions to my far right. Excuse me, John Shaheen, board member. Kevin Corson, board member. Secretary Sarah LaJudas. Again, Sue Smith. My left, board member Carl Fahrenkrug. Board member Dan Bargavas. Board member Deb Cook. And board member Roy Smith. Our town engineer, John Dunkel, and town attorney, Jamie Southman. Ken Verip, our codes enforcement officer, is not in attendance tonight. So with that, first, we have board minutes from last meeting. Does the board have any corrections, additions, deletions? Otherwise, I move to approve as presented.
So, how? I noticed Sarah was asking about Carl's statement, how to get those into the meeting minutes that he requested, and I'd like to request that my response be put in either these meeting minutes or minutes associated with the present meeting, whichever is more appropriate.
The actual article will be she will cite the, or put the citation notation to it, referencing the article.
Oh, so the whole statement isn't going in?
Just a citation of, people want it, they can look that up.
Oh, all right.
It'll be in the town record.
Okay. As far as, was this what you read at the town board the
Yeah,
other night?
Yeah.
Is that, Jamie, more applicable under the town board?
Well, if it's not something that was discussed at this meeting, then it's not part of these minutes.
No, and Carl's was read at the town board meeting also.
No, I didn't read what I wrote. I just read commentary.
yeah. he
What
just-
was,
So you made commentary about it. So
was there,
it wasn't read here.
it wasn't, was it?
It was not read here.
Either
No, it was not.
The article was referenced, but it was,
by you at this,
yes.
Because he made the motion, he asked to have it put in the record, but it wasn't read here. It wasn't part of the meeting.
right, just the article, so the reference can go in to these minutes, but it's not gonna go in or be printed out or anything. It'll just be Mr. Fahrenkrug referenced this article. This is the citation.
Yeah, it wasn't an article, it's his writing.
No,
No,
they're talking about the actual HBR.
Okay,
It was an article,
just the article, not the rest of what he wrote. Okay.
right?
And in terms of yours, we could read it tonight and then we could put it in the minutes.
No, that's all right.
I'll read it for you.
No. There's no need for that, I don't think.
Fair enough.
If no further discussion, I make motion, approve as presented then.
I second the motion.
We have a second, further discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda. American Tower site plan review, which this is what we're gonna need her. Yeah. Representative will be joining us via wonderful world of electronics.
So Kelly, if you can hear me, you need to turn your camera on and your audio on.
Decline. Decline.
Can you tell her not to decline?
Kelly, please not decline us.
Please accept the
Please
panelists,
accept the panelist
panelist invitation.
invitation. Repeating, please accept the panelist invitation.
If she's not there, I mean, as soon as she comes on, we'll bring her on and she can stand by, like, watch everything
Yeah,
else.
you want to move on and then we'll come back to it?
Right, as soon as she comes on, pull her up, she'll just have to kind of wait, and it's her turn. Again.
This needs to, she should have gotten an invitation in her email.
There you go.
Yes, okay.
There we are.
Yeah.
That was close.
Okay, can we hear you? Your audio?
I'm here. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yay.
All right, so obviously this is a new rep from last time around that we saw somebody, so why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Sure thing. My name's Kelly Kelsey. I'm with Qualtech Wireless, representing American Tower for this application.
Okay. And it said, so why don't you do a quick update? I know there was some information we asked for, but go over the application again of what your company is proposing.
Yep, we are proposing to install a generator at the existing cell site.
And by our records, it was at 80. Size of the generator was.
Yep, 80 kilowatts diesel generator. Correct.
And we did have some questions and it had to do with noise levels, how often or frequency of testing, things along those sorts. And there we go. What, we were provided with, said the decibel reading levels. This is a standard enclosure generator and levels will be at 81.4 dBA at 23 feet from the generator site. Set. Yeah, from the generator set, and the spec sheet was attached. How many times would the generator run tests? Regular schedule startups may last up to 2 hours if the tech does a load bank prior to calling the NLC or runs into installation issues. Generators are supposed to test once a week on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for around 20 minutes. Questions on the generator's fuel storage. Was the storage as a standard size 300-gallon tank? There is no separate fuel storage on site. The generator tanks will be filled to the 300-gallon capacity and refueled when NLC gets notified the tank is low. There will be no more than the 300-gallon capacity on site. There was some questions about access and as far as getting fuel deliveries, et cetera. Questions on the driveway or current road. And Kelly responded back. They said the current road will be sufficient in winter for fuel delivery or emergencies. So, board members, you're all writing down things. I see questions, comments.
Access to fire departments in the event of a fire at the generator.
I mean, they would have access.
Is there a gate, a lock, fence?
Let me double check the drawings here so I can see. It does not look like there is a gate from these drawings that I'm seeing. However, if I'm wrong, we will absolutely provide the town with the lot combination. Yeah, I'm not really seeing. Yeah, would that suffice if we provided the town with the combination? If there were,
Yeah, you're not sure that there is an enclosure that, for security purposes keeps that?
I'm not, and sorry, I apologize, I'm just getting up to speed on this. So I'm looking at the drawings right now and it does not look like there's an enclosure, but I can verify that for, to make sure.
Is there an enclosure around the fuel tank?
No, the fuel tank is part of the generator. It's like the base of the
Okay, but
generator.
Is there any kind of enclosure around the whole thing?
Well,
Just the,
that's what I
I
would.
mean, not just the gate, but, yes.
Yeah, for security reasons, you would think.
That's what I would think, that for security, there's got to be a gate somewhere. Yes.
There was some question last month about the driveway, the quality of the driveway, the quality of the access. So, it's great to have the gate, but we gotta make sure it's maintained well enough for fire trucks.
Yeah, the driveway itself.
I've asked the tower company and they've said that the way that the roads are currently is fine for any emergencies. So, I mean, I would imagine that's your fire trucks, they can get to almost anywhere, I would think.
Does drive it or maintain that driveway.
Just on that statement, we recently had a fire in town where the homeowner had let the trees grow in around the driveway and the fire department did not have access with our vehicles. We had to take pickup truck loads of water down to the fire. So access is important
it.
on any
Okay.
road. Yeah. The law requires that your insurance probably requires that your fire department can bring so much water to the site in a certain amount of time. So that's why we ask about the roads being maintained for that purpose.
Okay, I can have American Tower look at it again more specifically and make sure that there's no overgrowth, no blockages on the road. That way the fire company can get in there.
Your drawing does show a gate on that. It's to
Okay,
16-foot gate.
okay, here.
Number V101, it does show 16-foot gate.
Okay, then yes, I will have to get the lock combination for that. I mean, in extreme case of emergency, the lock could be broken off too. They would understand that.
Yes, we do carry that sort of device on the fire equipment.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, if it's necessary to get in there, do it.
So who does maintain the plowing of snow for that driveway?
That would likely be the property owner, which. Yeah, okay, so the property owner is American Tower. They own the site, the land, so they do maintain that. They have field techs that make regular scheduled visits to the site to make sure that everything is running appropriately, that access is available. Nothing's been damaged or anything like that, so American Tower would be responsible for that.
Renee, has the town been getting information from American Tower about their annual, the RF testing, Carl, is that what they call it?
Gotten anything?
Radiation.
And that's required yearly. And so yearly, it's required that we get from the tower companies it's not, is it, hang on, we just,
It's every 2 years.
every 2
It's
years.
supposed to be an engineer's inspection of the structure, it's the structure facility, not the.
Okay, so an engineer, every 2 years, an engineer's inspection report is to be handed into the town. And the last one we received, Renee?
I don't think we've ever received it.
Ah,
And we also have they're also supposed to provide us with the contact information for the maintenance companies, whoever is doing the maintenance locally. So that we have a dated
by the
contact.
way, are you able to hear this?
Yes, Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's Renee Rotundo. She's the town supervisor
okay,
asking that question.
So Kelly, just so you know, we've been looking at this for several years because there's been no responses from any of the cell tower companies really. Owners of them, and there are requirements in our telecommunications code for us to have information. Even if you're renewing the feds, we're supposed to get notice of that 2 months in advance. We get nothing. And I just think these, if the companies are so big, they don't pay attention to the local requirements. So since we've got you here, it might be an opportunity to get at least American Tower on board with the requirements.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time a carrier goes out to do work on that tower, they're supposed to file for permits or at least check and see what's required for zoning and building and electrical. I can't speak to the other carriers in terms of, what they've done with filing. But when they do that, they would typically provide a structural analysis report, and that's what's completed by the engineer to show what the structural capacity is of the tower from foundation all the way up through the top of the tower. And it shows the percentage of where it's at capacity wise, showing with the proposed equipment that they're planning to install. So say Dish goes out and they throw up 3 antennas and cables, their report would show that once that's added, based on the current structural capacity, this is what the new capacity is going to be at. And that's what I imagine you guys are looking for, correct?
John. So.
That
so-
sounds like what you said you're looking for.
Yeah, as I understand it, we want an engineer to provide us information that the structure is stable.
Yes,
Basically.
that's what the town code.
Right. So we need to know every 2 years that structure that's there continues to be stable based on conditions and age and all that. So
Yep.
we have not received any of that from American Tower.
You're not alone though.
Well, so I'm
That
not
really
sure.
doesn't matter. This is the
I don't-
applicant that's in front of us.
I don't want to feel.
Yeah, don't feel alone, but you're the
No,
applicant.
and I'm not sure if American Tower knows that that's a town requirement for every 2 years. I mean, that kind of stuff gets brought up when carriers file for the permits. So if you're
Right.
saying that work has been done at this tower and no carriers have filed for permits,
No,
then-
they filed the original permit to build the tower. And
okay,
then what's required is every 2 years, an engineering report to show us that that tower is still in a condition that would be safe.
okay,
Safe and
understood.
viable, and we have not received that every 2-year report.
Okay, they don't always run it like they run it every time that there's changes on the tower.
Right, but what the town is requiring is, especially in the environment we live here in upstate New York,
Mhm.
is that that tower, its condition is safe for the community. Regardless of whether they've added anything to it,
Mhm.
just degradation of time and whatnot. A town not too far from us had a wind tower come down because of some foundational issues.
Ugh.
large wind tower. So that would be our concern. So our town engineer would be able to receive that report and we knew that, everything was safe continuing and we haven't seen those reports. How long has American Tower been there? Renee, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's been there for decades.
Right,
I would say,
we have no records of ever receiving
no.
that,
And Kelly, we did, early on, I want to say 2020, 2021, we did send out letters to all of the cell tower, the owners of the properties that the cell towers were on, asking them for the specific information that we haven't been getting. And we basically I think we got one response.
Okay.
From one company. So, it's not, as I said, I don't think we're high on the list of priorities for some of these big telecommunications.
in addition, Renee, isn't there a financial statement that we need in the overlay district? They're doing any changes?
I don't know about that.
That's one of the questions the ECC had, that the applicant must provide required financial statements to the town as required by the town's overlay district law.
That's maybe for assessment. I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yeah, okay.
Would it be, Renee, would it be worthwhile providing that letter that went out directly to Kelly?
Oh, yes. Would that help, Kelly?
Yes,
you get it?
definitely. I
Like-
mean,
Oh.
I really think American Tower just wasn't aware, I don't know where those letters that you send, who they go to. I'm a contractor for American Tower. We're the ones that get into the nitty gritty for the jurisdictions. So I can definitely make sure that the right people are made aware of what's required. They do have an online database for all of their sites. And notes can be put in there that this is required every 2 years. A structural analysis report needs to be provided to the town. I can certainly do that.
Great. I'll get your contact info from the planning board, so we don't hold everybody up here, and then I'll reach out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the meantime, I can provide the latest structural report that was run. And if it was run within the past 2 years, that should be the most
Good to go.
current thing. But if it's been past that, I'll have them order one to be completed.
And do you know if there's any other generators up on the power zone?
I am not, it's a pretty common,
Yeah, backup generators, yeah.
so I'm surprised this one didn't.
Anyone that lives near there know if there's other generators that run up there? Renee, you're not aware. And you probably know that.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. Oh. In the application, it indicated that total acreage to be physically disturbed would be 1 acre. Is that? correct? One full acre?
If that's what was provided, I imagine it's accurate.
That's not.
I can verify it because I didn't do it, but yeah, I imagine that's correct.
It's a big generator.
That's a big generator then, and it's gonna involve another stuff.
Yeah,
You might want to reconsider that.
yeah, I don't think the footprint of the generator is anywhere close to that. It wasn't a building with a generator, it's all self-contained.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, an acre, looking at this, it does, I don't know where an acre comes from, because this just definitely does not. I mean, the whole area itself doesn't even look like maybe a full acre, so I will get confirmation on that.
Be good, is that will make a difference. If we need a SWIP and if you need a permit from,
I mean,
Yeah.
the dimensions and
Yeah.
there's a lot on the drawings.
but it's the actual physical disturbance of,
For the ground, got it. Okay, yeah, that's something I'd have to check with the contractor.
so we did This was referred to our Environmental Conservation Commission, and they had several comments and questions. They reviewed the site plan review application and the short environmental assessment form that was completed. It's the same document that we have. And their first question was, is it accurate a disturbance of 1 acre per the seeker? If it is 1 acre or more, that it's going to require a SWIP. So that's why we're asking to verify
Okay,
exact acreage on that.
Okay.
They had a question, are any permits required for the generator, diesel fuel tanks incorporated within?
No, that,
Yeah,
the 300 gallons does not require a,
It's under the
Right. Steve, what time of day generator testing be conducted and that? State. Approximately 20 minutes. Okay, will the noise and emission levels be monitored during generator testing to ensure it does not impact neighboring residential properties? Quoted what the decibel readings would be. Is there a way to monitor or verify?
81 dBA, is that this then?
81.4.
one, it's right next to the generator. So the nearest property is 3 feet away.
Should be.
And given it at such a short duration, once a week,
Right.
they don't see it as a major impact.
If we had a major power outage, everybody's generators would be running.
Okay, is the current road, access road sufficient to accommodate winter fuel delivery and truck access in the event of fire or other emergency? Are improvements to the road needed to ensure winter access? Okay, so we've talked about the lock and the gate and so on.
Oh, 24-hour contact? Do we have that? Renee, do you know if we have a contact? Like if something happened?
So that's one of the things that it's supposed to be provided, so the current.
I can get that for you. That's not a problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, usually those are posted on the gate itself. John, you see
True. There
That's
is
the-
signage on the gate that would
Has a-
have that
the number?
information.
Okay. And again, our code enforcement officer is not here tonight, so we can't ask him questions. He may have visited this day.
Has an O and M plan been developed, including management of waste generated?
Yeah. I mean, there might be an oil change to the generator on maybe an annual basis, and they would have to dispose of the oil. I mean, that would be about the only thing.
Else it doesn't generate waste.
Yeah.
No, just an oil change. That I'm sure whoever does that would do that at our site.
How often do they come and inspect the generator?
That I'm not sure. I'd have to get an answer on that.
Either inspected or maintenance. And their last statement was, the applicant provided required financial statements to a town as required by the town's overlay district law. So,
I asked that one, Renee.
yep. So, is there recommendations, based on satisfactory answers to those questions? Would be approval, again, contingent on those answers. Statements. Is required by the towns. Within-
Company, if they're available.
You know, but does that have to? That's for a little education for all of us on the town's overlay district law that's. They're supposed to supply those to us every 2 years,
Right, okay.
Renee or Jamie.
I don't know the answer to that.
So the applicant submitted his patients to neighbors. Hearing, but we never opened it.
We opened it last time.
We did open it?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a continuation.
yeah, there's not like a shot clock on public hearing, is there?
Well,
After close it.
there's supposed to. Well, I guess the question is, where are we headed right now? Is this possibly approvable with the various conditions? Right now,
Well, can we approve it with the conditions that they provide that information?
what information do you want exactly?
We want the engineer's report, the biannual report of the structural analysis of the site. What else was it, Renee, we were missing?
Well, the maintenance contact information and then.
Contact information.
How often is
verification.
inspected?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys are looking for how often it is inspected. Who our 24-hour access contact is, make sure the roads, once again, are good for the fire trucks. And what the gate combination is, but like we said, if all else fails, it can just be taken off. And then the structural report. I think those were the.
I would put it, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
I would put it more into a positive, like, there's a condition that there be an annual inspection. Okay, start right now, right? So.
My only problem with that, Jamie, is that Renee tells me that we've actually contacted them
Mhm,
for that report and gotten no response.
I see.
So if we put it as a condition and they just continue to not respond to us, the generator gets put in and the town is now burdened with writing more letters that they get no response to.
Mhm.
Am I correct in that, Renee?
Yes, I'm trying to stay out of this because what we've been trying to do with the cell towers is a whole separate, like, it just happens that one of them has come forward with.
Correct,
need
correct.
for Approval from the planning board, but there is a whole separate.
I guess we could put it as a condition and then leave it to the,
To codes, like, we won't issue a
Building permit.
building
Yeah.
permit, so that is.
yeah, okay.
That is given, but also that they have to do it annually.
Yep.
And that way we can sort of keep this.
Or is it every other year?
Every other
Every other year.
Every second year, I just found it.
Okay.
Every facility shall be inspected at least every second year for structural integrity by a New York State licensed engineer. Copy of the inspection report shall be submitted to the municipality.
So we're putting in a requirement with the law says.
We are, but, it hit.
Just restating.
We'll restate it. I think that's a good condition.
Yeah.
And that, that the road must be maintained at all times. And that way, if Tim goes out and it's not, or if it's not plowed, you're in violation. Now, that's something I think that's a good condition.
And in situations like this, we can authorize the highway department to go up there and maintain it and then put it on the taxes, right?
Well, they'd have to give notice.
Right.
And say you're not maintaining it, but they also will be in violation of their site plan if he goes up multiple
Yeah.
times and he's like, you never plowed this, right? So I think it is a good condition to put on.
I don't think you want to put it on the town, and it doesn't, again, this is a whole separate thing we've been working on. But it's sort of been on hold because we haven't gotten responses. But the other thing that is supposed to be provided and never has been, and I talked to Tom Sharkey about this months ago, is a removal bond. We've never gotten a single bond from any of the cell
Were
towers.
they required in the beginning?
It's in the statute.
How did we allow them to build it without?
I don't know. This was years ago. Nothing was. So I don't know. I don't know if they were there before the law got passed, the telecommunications law back in the early 2000s. Or what, but there are requirements in the statute for a bond.
$25,000 or 25% of the construction costs, whichever is greater.
And I did find the letter from Tim. It's got 5 different
provisions in it of things that are required for our code, but that we haven't been receiving from any of the stuff.
So you'll be able to forward that letter to,
Yes, as soon as I'll get the contact info. Yeah, I will.
and then what about this bonding thing that they never did? That's gonna be a tough one.
I feel like Kelly just walked into her. It's not
Poor Kelly.
that's not what she was expecting.
Is the bond noted in the letter?
Yes,
So if
all
we
five
reference the
provisions
letter-
in the code that require, have, that put a responsibility or onus on the telecommunications facility are cited in this, in the letter.
So if it had to be taken down or it happened to fall down,
Mhm.
we'd be covered. They didn't provide an
And-
insurance certificate, didn't they? Thought they did. The liability insurance they did provide. We're at a certificate holder or anything like that. Yeah, that's just, no, liability. All right, so they did provide us a liability insurance policy, but we're not named on that. So I think that would be, wouldn't that be a requirement that we're, the certificate is in our name?
It's not down at the bottom.
Oh. No, the certificate holder section is blank.
I can request that.
Oh, they'll, sure, the insurance company will do that. Yeah, it's usually pretty simple. But yeah, the town should be named on there. That's. Sure, not really a bond.
Stuff.
That would just cover it if there was some liability, somebody fell down and hit somebody in the head or something. What's that, the bond?
What, well, you talk about the insurance and the bond and, it's all that kind of stuff, you know, whether we require it or not, it's not like we're in the loop and know whether it happens or not, and we're not in enforcement.
But that's what code enforcement is. That's what his
So my
job,
question is who knows whether or not this stuff happens or not?
code enforcement. We're gonna give him the information and he'll go to the site and say, you know, I'm supposed to have this, this and this, and they'll be in violation, as Jamie said.
Who sends out like the letter that Renee's talking about? Did Renee? send
Tim said,
that?
code enforcement sends it out. Yeah.
The town attorney sent the letter.
Yeah, town attorney
On our
with,
behalf.
with Tim.
In addition to that, everything else, just verify the actual acreage
Yes, let me add that. to
that
it.
would involve.
So it's just for the area of disturbance, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and since the public hearing is still open, we can still hear people.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Make a motion to reopen the public hearing,
I'll second.
second by John, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Hearing none. If anybody is here from the public that wishes to speak on this matter, at a time, name and address. Going once, going twice. Oh. Hey,
Make a motion to close public hearing.
motion by John, second by Carol to close public hearing, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is now closed.
and I like that little trick of having the dog bark, so we know you're a dog owner, so we like you a little more.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Okay, so. With what we know, we could not do this yet.
Well, they're gonna count those like resubmit. That sounds like.
Say it.
I don't know they're gonna resubmit as much as answer the questions.
Am I doing this now? Be holding.
So on that question of the acreage, can't she make that change right now?
Doesn't
If she doesn't know what it is, it basically is the footprint of the,
The generator.
I don't
if she said half an acre, then we wouldn't have to do a slip, right?
So you might, if you're gonna approve it, maybe this, the ultimate disturbance is less than an acre. If it's more than that, we have to revisit it and.
Right.
You have to follow.
Right, so we could put that in as a condition.
We didn't do the seeker, before we opened it like a couple months ago.
I didn't think we did because we were questioning how loud it was.
So I think we have enough information to do the seeker if you like. Question of whether there's gonna be a motion to approve with conditions or.
Well, that could be part of the conditions. The additional information.
Well, I think we'd have to review it and make sure that that's what everybody feels comfortable with.
Yeah. Because the additional information we need for getting the conditions, the engineering report and all that, that's gonna be in the conditions anyway. But we need to know that they're disturbing less than an acre, which sure it is, it's putting a generator on the ground. What other questions did we have?
Maintenance.
Maintenance.
Suitability of the access road.
Yeah, who's taking care of that?
Well,
that they.
I don't think we so much need to know the answer to that as we need to say it must
Be done.
be done.
Right.
And look at my handwriting. What else?
Any other items that are in that letter that's gonna be forwarded to them?
Well, we can just say that must be in compliance with section blah, blah of the code. I'll look at it again before building permit is issued.
Right.
That way it'll go back to where it needs to be, which is codes.
Right, they have to get a building permit to put that there, and they can't get that until that's perfect.
My assistant here is gonna open up their code sections. Engineers can read too.
Right,
So then we can do seeker.
yeah, also, because this was referred to county, I'm just gonna refer, their only comment was town and applicant are advised to consider the noise impacts of the proposed generator to nearby residences. And I believe that we answered that question earlier with decibel meeting that was at 25. There's So Carl's question was the actual location of the generator to the nearest residence.
What's the generator?
Small.
Oh, that small block, yeah. That's gonna be halfway to the. Where is the road here? There's the road out here. That's gonna be. Yeah, so that's, so, that's at least a couple hundred. That's just the road. It's a math there, so.
I was trying to look at the overhead.
That's the closest house.
Nancy, who's the closest house to that site? You?
The Murphys,
Murphy's,
looks to be about 300 feet.
300 feet? Yeah, that's what the map looks like. It's set pretty far back off the
Yeah,
100 feet, okay.
Some trees.
Fair amount of woods.
Yeah.
Woods
it's all
buffering.
wooded. They do have young children, if that matters.
How much does the decibel go down?
Yeah. That's on it.
Yeah.
But it goes down exponentially. Even if it's 20 minutes once a week.
Yeah, it's 80 and 23 feet.
Yeah.
Or 200 feet, it's background.
We did not do the seeker determination before. We will do that this evening. We've got, I believe, enough information that we can more accurately answer these questions. Series of 11 questions. The answers, one of two answers. One is no or small impact. And the other answer to the question, would they be a moderate to large impact? So the first question, will proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? This is within our tower overlay zone, and the generator would be used within those means. I say it's a no or small impact may occur.
Agreed.
The proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity and use of the land. Again, based on the tower overlay and what is around in that zone, I believe no or small impact.
Agreed.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? We've talked about the sound decibels and distance to the nearby. And I believe a no or small impact may occur.
Agreed.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics, cause the establishment of critical environmental area? We've no or small impact on that.
Agreed.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? We say no or small impact. It's a already pre-developed driveway and site.
Agreed. Did we lose the applicant? Dog chewed the wire.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No or small impact.
Agreed.
Will proposed action impact existing A, public or private water supplies, or B, public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No, not either.
Agreed.
The proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources. Size of the generator, and it's already in an area being used for those. So I say no or small impact.
Agreed.
Proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna. Again, no or small impact.
Agreed.
Will the proposed action result in an increase for the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No or small impact.
Agreed.
And will a proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No or small impact.
Agreed.
Based on these 11 answers, I make a motion for negative declaration on American Tower application.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Kevin. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Based on these, you're comfortable, is there a motion? We have,
I'll make a motion that we approve the American Tower. Application for a diesel generator at 7209 Sevier Road. Tax map number 010-03-48.1. With the conditions that American Tower comply with.
Section 165-9C2.
You get that?
say that again.
165-9C2 of the town of Pompey Code.
Comply with the Pompey Code 165
9C.
-9C2, got that. In addition,
Before a building permit is issued.
before a permit is issued, in addition, a certificate of liability insurance, making, the town of Pompey additionally insured,
An additional insured.
and
That the road.
the road be maintained for fire service. The town be provided with access codes to the gate and provided with a 24-hour contact phone number for the site.
Got it.
And the disturbance.
And verify that the disturbance is less than 1 acre.
Yes, I will do that.
So moved.
Jamie, what about, you said 169. 165-9C-2,
Yes,
does that cover the things that we're requesting in the letter?
yes.
Excuse me, can I just clarify for the certificate of insurance? Do you want the town listed as the additional insured or as a certificate holder?
It would be additionally insured.
Right, additional insured.
Okay,
Nation and whole pounds.
The additional insured.
Yeah.
We'll double check that section. I'll double check.
Yeah, I don't see anything in there in bond. Bond is way bond.
Go ahead, Renee.
I'm sorry, but it's 165-10E. That's where all the
Yeah,
provisions
sorry.
are that
Sorry,
sorry
yeah.
to follow up after initial site.
Add that tonight.
So, I think it's. 9 is the original.
Oh, yes, I was looking at the wrong.
Is that
Sorry about that.
I'm fired at your assistant.
Be correct with that. And on the insurance, the town will be additionally insured based on the limits of the insurance certificate provided to us in the application.
Say that again. Just on,
Based on the insurance limits stated in the certificate supplied with the application. Which doesn't even have so American Tower. The insurance certificate doesn't even have American Tower on it.
Does they have qualified?
It has, Diversified Wireless.
That's the contractor.
That runs the site?
That's the contractor that will be installing the
Oh,
generator.
that's his insurance for installing it, right, but we
Correct.
also, all right, so that's for the installation, but the town. Don't we need liability insurance, Jamie, also for a tower?
I am not,
That's what the bond,
if it is required
if it's required,
in the code.
right, so this is the insurance for the people that are putting the generator in, okay, I get that, so we just need to be put the owner on that. You don't think we need to be insured? So just name us,
I'll check that, just,
okay,
if you can just put in that, if it's required in the code,
okay.
and we'll
If
double
it's,
check that.
the insurance, if it's required in the code. Okay. Okay,
So we have a motion.
we have a motion.
I'll second.
It's great.
Yep, got it. I was gonna have her read it back.
That's it.
No, wait till she cleans it up.
Read it back.
Okay, this is the motion.
Okay, so a motion to approve the American Tower application for a diesel generator at 7209 Sevier Road. Tax map ID, I will insert that. With the conditions that American Tower comply with 165-10E of the Town of Pompey Code before a building permit is issued. In addition, a certificate of liability insurance making the Town of Pompey an additional insured based on the insurance limits stated in the certificate supplied with the application if it is required in the code. The road will be maintained for fire service. The town will be provided with access codes to the gate and with a 24-hour contact phone number for the site. The applicant must, additionally, the applicant must verify that the total ground disturbance is less than 1 acre.
Sounds good.
Okay, so motion by Kevin, second by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly.
Have a great holiday.
You
You
too.
do the
You
same.
too.
Stay safe.
Okay, so moving along, continue to review the public hearing. Harry. Continued review and public hearing on the Perry Real Estate Holdings Broadfield Road subdivision. That's an application for subdivision of land located at 7940 Broadfield Road, Manlius, New York, tax map number 004.03-44.1. And 004.03-49. Oh, no.
But really, we haven't changed anything on the plan from the last meeting. I know we were just waiting on, the county's. Their say on.
Site distance.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten that yet?
Tim, I don't know who you sent it to, but Tim had talked to someone at the county and he wrote an email to me that said.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Give me a second and I'll read it. I'll find it and read it to you.
Okay. While you're looking for that, I've, since the last meeting, I've, been by the site at least 3 times. And I don't see how it could possibly work to have 4 houses off that driveway. It's at the peak of a hill, the site distance is awful and I'm not measuring it like the DOT would, but, today there were 4 trash cans out there and, it would be tough to get in and out of that road and condition it's in. It's coming out, it's difficult to see. In terms of flooding, the steepness of the driveway coming off the property onto the road, and then the road is at the peak of the hill. Flooding would be certainly a major issue there, and I did see that there is a swale. Looks like somebody put in with a shovel or something along there, but from my perspective, I see that school buses stopping there, trash trucks picking up the trash. The road is fairly narrow. I'm not sure what the speed limit is there on that one. It's 40 in that spot.
40.
Yeah, it's 40, which is moving pretty quickly along there. So just taking a field trip out there, I think it would be a very, very difficult thing to have 4 houses off of that driveway. I don't see how it could happen. Where the snow would be put from snow removal. You know, you often see snowplow drivers move snow across the street, which is illegal. Any snow in your driveway has to stay in your driveway or on your property, so I don't see how it possibly that could work with, you know, the town snow removal. And that's my perspective on that. So waiting, go ahead, John, if you have it.
Tim wrote back and answered my question, which was, did you contact your county to determine whether or not there was sufficient site distance they had additional homes to the property? Yes, I received an email. Tim writes, a new driveway access permit will be needed for the additional 2 homes. That means the county they have to go through the review process again. They're not saying yes now, but they are saying that if you know, properties are added to that driveway, that it's under review again, at the end of their review again.
Right, you're right.
I mean, they're looking at the eastern side.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Also, the rest of that,
So they kind of punted in some ways, but
Yes.
they're saying that it's a concern and it needs to be reviewed. If additional homes are added.
a little further, reading off that also, but new permit would be required, but also the plans currently show a 22-foot wide roadway and the max allowable width is 20 feet. So it can't be made any wider. It's already out of compliance then.
If you were pulling out of that driveway and someone was trying to pull in, I just see, you know, accidents there. I just think it would be a very difficult intersection, even if it's not a side road, but a driveway. It would be a difficult place to have that.
So if I could just, about the width on our, proposed, what we're showing for improvements. There's going up to a 22-foot width. I think that's what they're referring to. I don't believe the driveway out there now is 20 feet wide.
How wide is it now? It's a little more than 10. It's about 14, yeah. And in terms of drainage, have you been out there, John? Yeah, there's some swales and not some, and you need quite a bit of,
Pointed out before that we wanted a low point in the driveway so that it doesn't drain directly out onto property.
right.
And yeah, the ditches need to be improved around that driveway location.
Just pulling on and off there, I just think would be, you know, the Broadfield Watervale intersection. You know, that is now a 4-way stop because of the number of accidents we had there over the years. Terrible intersection, and it's roads in all 4 directions. The state just put in flashing lights down at the bottom of the hill on Route 20 coming to Warren Delphi Road because of the number of accidents we have on those intersections. And those intersections again it's a flashing light and it's a 4-way. But this would be a major liability in terms of accidents. From my perspective, having been responded to those accidents for the past 29 years, that I just think school buses, trash trucks, deliveries, people coming in and out at the same time, that would be a terrible spot to have an intersection for four houses off of the driveway. That's my opinion. Has anyone been up there? Have you been up there?
I drive by there all the time. I got the same concerns.
Yeah. Has everybody else been up there? You guys been up there?
Take the
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. But it's, so in my mind, I'm wrestling with this, they can mitigate and what they can't mitigate. For the site distance, they're not gonna be able to mitigate,
Can we put a traffic light
but
there?
everything you said, right, that means that they. I'm not sure.
No, it would be, the county would never permit it.
I understand that. I understand that.
So.
But that would be significant. I mean, so everything you have said, I would agree with. But the question would be is what can they perfect or mitigate? I think it would be expensive.
Oh,
So,
you know, I mean, I can make the statement, you can almost mitigate anything
exactly.
if you got enough money and, you know.
But if it could be a moot point if the county comes back and site distances
Yeah,
such that.
but the county's not gonna come back until it's been approved for two additional houses. The county won't come back until that point.
So they're gonna do the chicken and egg?
Right.
That unfortunately, that's kind of how. I read everything.
It's not on the hill. It is the very peak of the hill. The driveway is the
Well,
very.
usually
peak of
that's a good thing. Because you're going west, I think it's a bigger problem than going east. Broadfield.
So
Because,
current,
yeah.
just its current condition is they can build a house there.
There's two houses there now.
They can build a house on the, you know, the new lot. Okay, so what you're talking about is if it gets divided, you know, and it's residential, they can put another house. So there's two houses. For the purposes of subdivision, we can say, fine, you can subdivide it. One of the things that was talked about last time is to put in a condition that there must be site plan approval of the planning board before any houses are put in. And if there is, at that point, you can talk about the road needs to be widened, a stop sign at the end of the road, or things like that. If you think, like Dan said, is it
Mitigatable.
mitigatable? If there's no circumstance under which it would be mitigatable, then don't do the subdivision. But if it's mitigatable on site plan, which usually you don't get for residential, and it's gonna go to the county, you know, then it's possible to allow the subdivision.
So the county.
And you could go through all this work and you go to the county and they'll say, sorry, but no.
Right, right. The county might say no, and this board could say no. Or
The
do
county
this.
say no.
And the thing is, though, if we did what you're proposing, and then they came back to the planning board, we could put conditions on them for that roadway that would just be insurmountable and
And basically, the mitigation for that is to reprofile Broadfield.
Exactly, cut down the.
well, not honestly, I'm not comfortable with a shared driveway for four houses. I mean, I think it should be a
That's-
town road.
Even if they're gonna put on one house, it's still gonna go in front of county, right?
No, why not?
It would not.
Okay, entitled for one.
Right now, they're entitled to the one right
My
now.
question too, so I didn't know that.
So that's why I'm saying it's that extra one.
We really come down to is whether or not they really wanna split it up into two and hope for the best.
Not interested in coming back, excuse me, for a site plan review. So that makes this easier for everybody. I'm asking for two buildable lots that the owners have the same rights as anybody else has as a buildable lot to just build a house per code. If the board's desire is to have those owners come back and go through the process again, I'm not interested in that. I don't think a prospective buyer would be interested in that. It's been a fairly cumbersome process to this point. So with all due respect, I would prefer to just move forward doing a lot line adjustment to solve the issues that I have with the pool house and the fence of my neighbor and make this one lot that's buildable for one home on it, 19 acres using that driveway. If that's possible, considering where we're at.
I think it's certainly, I mean, yes, if you can modify that
Isn't that just a
Right
lot
now.
line removal?
Well, I think it's before this board now, so I think that we can approve that and, you know, would need to, we need to erase the lot line.
So I did prepare up a map showing what that would look like that I can submit. Just in case things went awry.
But just to
You have
point
that.
out that we gotta approve adding another house to that driveway too.
No,
No, they're entitled to that.
They're entitled to that.
right, it's just, they're just adjusting that, that part in the front that has all the,
And the pool.
you know, the neighbors.
Property.
approaching.
That's property.
Why are they entitled to?
Why they.
Yes, they own the lot, they own a lot, it's,
I'm talking about the shared driveway aspect though.
it's there.
It's not.
Well, it only needs a building permit.
You could get a building permit tomorrow if you wanted to.
At almost 100.
Right.
No. Yeah.
This is the.
Which is part of, that's,
Yes.
so these two houses are just getting access. He has the right to build a house back here.
So with this map as it is, like you said, we would be just conveying I think it's roughly an acre. Just to make sure that pool and whatever encroachments are no longer encroaching. With this, certainly we have the legal descriptions in place for the ingress egress for the two people that are already utilizing the drive. That's of course still something that we could file just to clean up the matter. And essentially, we would just be walking away with that,
Lot line adjustment.
yes.
Well,
And it would be nice if we could take care of that. Seeing how we've gone through this process. Rather than a separate application through Tim. If it's possible, I don't know.
well, I mean, it's basically being amended now, or it's simply, I don't have a problem with that, because it's here, it's being amended to just be a lot line adjustment. Now, technically, like you said, it can just leave us entirely, and it'll be Tim and John and I will discuss the criterion of it, if you prefer. We do, Pat, you have the ingress egress easements drafted.
We have them, you have them,
My attorney.
yeah. So we have them. I don't think anything has been executed.
Well, we submitted it.
No.
in an email.
Okay.
We didn't fill it out. It's just a rough draft. How anybody felt, but I don't know that we ever got any feedback.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would just be something maybe I believe, if I remember correctly, I'm just referencing the map,
Mhm,
easement as shown on the map.
mhm.
We did shorten up the easement because we don't have now, what would have been lot 3 out there. So it might just be a matter of just checking the easement, make sure there's no dimensional description on it, but.
Jamie, just a question while you're over there thinking.
Yeah.
We still have a open public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Do we need a public hearing now that we're just doing a lot line adjustment? Or do we need to close that.
I'm just looking up our lot line adjustment situation.
We always thought that was something code enforcement could do.
They are, but I think there's also time where he can refer even a lot line adjustment here.
At this point, it's here, we can handle it.
So-
So
Even as one.
Get it? Sorry, were you out there last time?
Oh, really?
So it does say,
Believe me.
it does say here that the code enforcement officer may in his sole discretion refer a request to the planning board for its advice and or approval. I think just in as much as it's before us right now, it should probably keep it here. And it seems to me that, I just want to make sure we get what we have a meeting coming up. Take a look at this, because I'm looking at this for the first time. Look at it with Tim, look at it with John, and then we can, come back with the advice and I think probably get an approval. I'm going out a little bit on a limb on that, but I don't. Because I think it's something Tim would not want to undertake himself at this point,
Correct.
knowing him and what's gone down, and it's gonna be better to have this approval done here. But the way I see it right now, lot one, it's fixing something. We hadn't been through so much. It is my opinion and John Dunkel's opinion, I speak for you again tonight, that this applicant is entitled to build this house.
Even though there's
Never.
another easement.
Hold on. He never, if he had never come here and went in for a building permit, he would be able to get it. So he's really just trying to fix this. We have the opportunity to make sure those ingress egress easements are all good. So there's no. There's nothing that's going to stand out as problematic to me right now.
Access can't be used.
It already, I believe.
No, but you can look here, just to give you a sense.
The ZBA variance approval condition on.
Hang
Hold
on,
on, please.
Yeah, so
the
we are
ZBA said that one couldn't be used.
correct.
Okay, just be clear on that.
Mhm.
So that remains in effect.
Yes, on this, I'm seeing if it's still on the note here,
Oh, what note's that?
that this cannot be used.
I don't know if I had a note necessarily on that originally.
You did. Number three will not be allowed a driveway directly off the Butterfield Road, must show the ingress egress utilities and so on.
Mhm. Well, there. So,
We just need to verify that this easements are adequate and sufficient.
mhm.
So if I have, Matt,
Yes.
if I have the right to build a house, does the variance still apply?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. She's
So
going to not
the thing
dividing the two
is,
lots.
But I can make it a condition.
I can't remember what the variance was. Okay, was that the only?
It was about road frontage.
Yeah.
The variance was about. I don't know.
It actually would be,
So it may not actually, but you as a board could keep that condition as part of your
Mhm.
outline adjustment.
but using that other access to a single house that's back there, would that be a better thing? I didn't really look at where that is. I didn't.
Well, the county said it was, there's acceptable site distance
I
there.
think for site distance, it's better, but we were taking drainage issues because of
Right.
your water action and
Yes,
Mature
correct,
reserve.
correct. But there'd have to be a lot of work done in terms of drainage.
That goes back to them. Whether or not you guys are comfortable with having all that on building permit
Well, what done?
from the development.
And this was the ZBA that said they couldn't use it and.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Because they needed a variance for
Road
road
frontage.
frontage to
So
create two lots.
wouldn't we have to go back to the ZBA first to get clarification from them before we undo something they've done?
No, because they're just not. It's not gonna be of any effect because they're not requesting the variance any longer.
So, I mean, I do want to be clear, if there is no variance. Having. Well, essentially, it totals 120,
120 feet done in total road frontage,
Yeah,
and is that,
but it's an existing
so that,
lot.
that's part of the variance, right?
Right.
If they,
Less than 200 feet of road frontage.
It's a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It's there. I don't know who created it or how it got that way. But it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot.
that was really our main concern is we didn't want to. If we went down this road, then when it came time to pull a permit or something,
Let me just.
find out we'd have to. Come back.
in the meantime, I will say the new map needs revision dates on it to differentiate.
Right,
They both
do
say-
you mind if I just switch the date rather than the revision?
Jamie, we can put in the conditions that if they use that other, that the drainage has to be improved and,
You can just say you can't. I mean, that can be part of this.
okay, so we can,
Wait, say that again.
You can't use it.
right,
We can say they can't use.
the.
Follows the others.
Because the work that would be required to make it drainable.
Well,
Mitigatable.
because, I mean. He's trying to fix his problem, right, over on the other side. And so that gives an opportunity to fix some of the issues here. One of them is, we think there's a drainage problem over, or potentially, right? Over at the, the westerly side of the property.
Right.
So that could be a condition of the subdivision, get those easements fixed, get that lot one fixed. And you're better off than you were if he goes away because he has the non-conforming lot. The existing non-conforming lot.
That noted on here as far as driveway then, or the westerly 60 foot should not be used for access.
That's where the drain, where most of the drainage problem is down by the Riceman property. I mean, from the existing driveway all the way down to the creek
Yeah, it runs.
would
that
have to be
way.
improved. There's some swale, there's some no swale, I don't believe there's any culverts in either one of these driveways, the one. Road, so there need to be a lot of improvement to make that. Not have a water problem.
Or the second access,
What's that?
or the second access.
Second access, right? But you're getting water from all the way from the primary access, the water comes down off that driveway, then heads down the hill. So there's
Would it be possible to say that that couldn't be used without site plan approval as a second access? To say that it can never be used is kind of infinite. I mean, if we're talking about drainage issues, to me, that's fairly easily mitigated.
say that, right? That needs approval.
Only if I wanted to use that.
You find conditioning this lower. The western access. Site plan. Should you want to use it?
Right, and the other one's just gonna just,
Because I think this would be better for Nick. to be using the work habits.
Yep, I agree.
this would be a better problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Site distance and everything.
And I think
I
maybe
did-
we can,
excuse me,
it's
and I
a better
did-
site.
What I said about the non-conforming lot.
It'd be a safer for him to do it. Westerly one.
Well, I would still intend to use the common driveway.
Well, I know, but I'm
But
just
I
saying.
just, in order to leave some options open.
Right.
Cause I really don't know. Where I wanna put a house, what I would wanna do. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if I even wanna keep it. What I do wanna do is clean up the lot line adjustment.
Yeah.
For Mr. Leafly. So if I do decide to sell it, that's not a problem for him or someone else.
Right.
If a developer's interested in it, obviously they might want both lots or both access points. And if it's written in there that they have to have, site plan approval to use the lower one, then I think we kind of head off any potential drainage issues that might create. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And then as far as just building a single house back there, we would like to be able to use the common driveway without site plan approval. We'll just go through the permit process. That's possible.
I believe that is, right? Yeah, he's got the right to do that, yeah.
Yeah, right. Provided the easements are.
Right. We're gonna look at the easements, the idea would be that we'll internally review this and then come back for the final approval at the next meeting. I know that there's still, the public hearing is still open, so.
Let's do easement questions there.
Need to look at them and make sure they're sufficient and giving the correct accesses.
Well, the properties.
Right.
It's not that his, he owns the land, so he doesn't need to give it any easements.
Dave Grasso. I believe,
Yeah, I'm gonna look
something
them up.
that we sent them through just informally to you to review them. Cause he just kind of wanted a little feedback.
Yep.
Before he finalized it. But basically what our intent was to just try to state that it was shared use and shared responsibility. For the three. Or for the three people using the driveway. We didn't really get crazy in defining what that responsibility is. I've met Mr. Lee. And I met the other neighbor, and I think we would work fine together as far as maintaining that driveway. Any required drainage or whatever we need to make sure everybody's.
But it also gets into if somebody sells a house in the future,
Right.
what's on the deed, what's the, the legal access and such.
I don't see any, but,
I think it came from us, from Patrick. and
I might have, forwarded it along to you.
But I think I still have it.
but that's okay, we'll figure it out. We have some time here.
Sarah's got hard copies of it. Okay, I guess we're at a point, I do need to reopen the public hearing. Okay. That's over.
We opened that the last meeting.
Tonight.
But we closed it until we didn't reopen it. Or we left.
Then you gotta reopen, leave, you gotta reopen and come back.
We already reopened.
And Carl, but when we go home, we just need to come back here and reopen it. So I make a motion, we reopen the public hearing.
Did reopen it.
Okay, well,
For this evening,
That's why we're here.
officially reopen the public hearing on Perry Real Estate. Site.
A second.
In favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, if anybody is here to speak on the Perry Real Estate Holdings Broadfield subdivision, one at a time, please raise your hands, stand and state your name and address and address the board, please.
Yeah, my name is Phil Miller. I'm a friend here for Susan. And you've changed the whole dynamic here this evening and really haven't given us an opportunity even to respond to what you've just been talking about.
that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing right now.
The public hearing is open and then in changing it, it's not so much us. Applicant has stated what would happen is that the first lot that is in the northeast corner, a lot line would be expanded down so that everything that goes with that house, i.e. swimming pool, septic, will be on his lot. The other change is they're removing from the 17 acres, it's not 2 lots anymore, it's 1 lot.
So to clarify, if the applicant what they want to do now, if they came to the town 3 months ago and said, I want to do this lot line adjustment to get everything on that property, there would be no public hearing, there'd be no planning board. The code enforcement officers could just make that line adjustment so the swimming pool and the septic were on the right piece of property, because the property line goes between there. So that's essentially what he's doing, but we're just doing that, and we're continuing the public hearing, even though it would not have been required had he come in just to do a lot line adjustment. So if you want to see happen, see
But there's a lot more known now.
no than we knew in the past. That's correct. That is correct. So it is completely different. If you'd like to look at a copy of the map, that is fine. This just happened right now. It's just because of the statements you may have heard that some of us went out there and looked at the site and didn't feel that it was adequate. So, and some of it was based on the public hearing in the last meeting with some of the statements that were made. And so that's all changed now, just now. So in terms of you having the ability to look at it, you're more than welcome to come up and view the maps and make whatever statements you'd like.
Yeah, and I would like to follow up on a couple of things I heard, although I haven't had an opportunity to really get into this. But if you look at the minutes from the regular meeting of the zoning board of appeals on June 12, 2023, and that's what I was alluding to before, you had Neugebauer, Sharp, Tessier, Hale, and Haynes with a roll call vote on that. They say the ZBA imposed the following condition. Lots 1, 2, and 3 will be serviced through easements from an existing driveway to lot 2. The reason for this condition is to limit the amount of impervious pavement on lot 3, which is known to have flooding issues as expressed by the neighbors at the public hearing for the variance. We asked for a seeker evaluation at that time, and they said, well, this will eliminate that problem for you. We'll just make sure there's no use of that driveway, because that would be an impervious pavement and it would flush all the water down into her house. So we're gonna eliminate that use, and we're gonna require all the use to be on the eastern side. And that was their decision. And now all of a sudden we're hearing, well, he has a right to get a permit, and there's no problem with him using that road and putting an impervious pavement and flushing the water down. And I'm going, well, wait a minute, we've been going through this for months and months. Now all of a sudden the dynamic has changed.
Well, I think you may have misheard what was said up here. We never said that he can put an impervious driveway in there and just flood Mrs. Reisman's property. I don't believe anybody up here, including our attorney and our engineer, said anything.
Yeah, this has really become a lot line
Such.
adjustment, so that this
Right.
stuff doesn't even apply.
Right, he's no longer doing,
Make it apply.
right, but he's no longer doing the number of lots that you're referring to. That's gone out the window.
And what we talked about was coming back for site plan approval if he decided he did want to use that westernmost strip for driveway.
And there was sense to that.
And we specifically talked about the drainage would have to be addressed at that time. In that whole section of road, we specifically talked about that. In fact, I looked over at John and said, gonna be done, and he's an engineer, just give him enough money and he'll do anything, but yes, we would address that drainage.
I'm just asking that if you make this change and you have the ability to be able to restrict it or condition it, that you look at that problem that's already been addressed by the ZBA, and they listened to all of us. And they said, yes, that's a potential problem, and we're gonna do something about it. You can only use the eastern route. And so if you're gonna permit the use of the western route, then make sure those conditions are imposed too, so that we don't run into this problem, because I know your code enforcement officer has the legal obligation to enforce drainage issues. And so you're gonna throw this all into his lap now. And I just think appropriate conditions need to be imposed to make sure we don't run into that problem. Now, in addition, there was a second item put on the last map that was filed by Iannuzzi that said you need to file an easement the county clerk's office. That was the condition. And you've got one of the parties here that wants to speak to that. He ain't gonna sign that easement. At least that's my understanding.
We'll let him speak to
Let
that.
him speak.
And so there's issues here that personally I think need to be addressed appropriately. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dan Reisman, my mother Susan at 7868 Broadfield. If I understand the ability to be able to build a house on the one lot as it exists. He doesn't have to go through site plan, even though there's nothing existing there and doesn't, no matter how much surface area of that property he's going to be disrupting or changing or anything along those lines. His ability, it's just purely a codes.
It would be, you have to get a permit and go
Building
through
permit.
building permit and go through all the things for, siting of a well, of a septic. You'd have to go through all of those issues.
So how do you
Would
know?
not be back for site plan here.
So how do you know how that's gonna impact the neighbors where you already know that there's an existing drainage problem? And you know that everything coming off that hill.
Oh, I believe that Mr. Barrett would contact the town engineer to review that kind of plan.
I personally think that the drainage in that area needs to be addressed regardless of
100%.
anything being built or anything else being done. I think that's an issue that maybe some of you folks can go to the town about and say,
It would actually be the county. It's a county.
go to the county, it's a county road, so go to the county and say, we've got some terrible drainage here. So that outside of all this, I think that needs to be addressed regardless of what happens on that piece of
Yeah,
property.
but I mean, this is the only thing that we have to talk about right now, until somebody goes to the county. So how do you know how a structure where there is no structure, the extension of a driveway where there is no driveway, the redevelopment of land where there is nothing, how do you know how that's gonna impact the neighbors all around it? I'm not talking about just my mom's house. I'm talking about the people on Fraser Fir, talking about the other neighbors that are alongside. Without doing a site plan on something like that, how do you even know?
And then instead,
Well, from my perspective, if you own a piece of property and it's a buildable lot, you pull a permit and the code enforcement officer looks at the permit and makes the decision as to whether the siting is correct. Is it the setback correct? Is the setback from the properties correct? Is the siting of the well and the septic, is it zoned for that purpose? I mean, that's really code enforcement. We wouldn't, have in front of us. We would have the dividing up the property in front of us, but not the building of the houses. That's not our task. In terms of the drainage, where I live on Windy Hill Lane, my garage flooded every time it rained heavily. And I took photographs of it. I took photographs of my car sitting in water. And I'm on a town road and I sent it to the town. The town came up a couple weeks later and put in some new culverts and dug out the trenches. And I haven't had a flooding problem since, and that's probably 5-6 years ago. I'm big on sending pictures to get something changed. And so that's how when I look at that, there are definitely problems with drainage on the road right there. And it is a county road, and I think yelling and screaming at the county would probably be a good way to start, because they really should be attending to that, especially with that. Is that Limestone Creek? Limestone Creek.
But I'd like to add something to what you just said. And listen, this isn't my expertise on it.
Let some other folks speak.
Well, I just want to add what 274A of the plan of the town law gives the planning.
Proper etiquette of business, okay, for the public hearing is to allow other people to speak first, then I will circle back to you.
And I'll remember what I said.
I'll try to remember too.
Okay.
Sometimes I get distracted.
Are you done with your comments now? Okay.
Can I just add something to there? There is another mechanism where drainage is evaluated. If there's a major disturbance of land, a threshold of more than an acre of land disturbed, a permit is required from New York State DEC, which requires a full stormwater pollution prevention plan and a whole drainage analysis. So if this lot were ever to be developed to the extent you guys are worried about, it would more than likely trigger the need for a detailed engineering review by New York State DEC and probably by the town as well.
And you heard in our previous applicant, when they said it was an acre, and that's why we wanted to clarify that, they're just putting a generator in, but if they're saying they're gonna disturb more than an acre, then they need a SWIP plan, a drainage plan and everything else, so that's why we clarified that, so. Yes, those things will kick in.
Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, so.
Yeah, I own a house just west of the proposed driveway.
Name and address, please.
Name and
address.
32 Broadfield.
Your name.
My name's George Holden. And I'm concerned with the increase in use. I have no problem with the house being there. And I don't think there's any real issue with added water because he's not gonna add any water. He's just gonna work off a well with the water that's in the land, but he should address some drainage issues. And I'm concerned with additional use on the driveway because of distance. You're gonna get another mailbox, you're gonna get 4 more trash cans, unless you're like me, where you have extras. And you get more than that. And those trash cans have to be on Broadfield. They're not on the right of way.
He's only building one house,
What?
only building one house,
Right,
So 2 trash
two
cans.
trash cans.
2 trash, okay.
Maybe a lawnmower or something else.
Right, I'm concerned with that. I know. I did get a copy of the draft of the easements. I don't feel I can sign that because I've known for 30-some years that there's no sight distance on my driveway. There is sight distance on the other driveway. It puts me in a position where I've got to be responsible for maintenance on that. I don't want to be that, I always go out and do the good neighbor thing. And do everything I can to help the driveway. I put stone in and we graded it and all that and helped with the drainage a lot. There is a minimal amount of drainage issue up where we are now. We've done a lot of work away from the road. That's where the drainage work has to be done is before you get to all these other properties. It has to be done on the lower edge of Steve's property. I mean, it's not like you gotta put pumps in, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's just swales and stuff like that as you grade the lot. So it's not really that expensive to do that. But I'm concerned. I know when I pull out of there, like 5, 6 o'clock at night, and I look to the west, all I see is the sun. And I didn't have any sight distance to begin with going west. The school buses, again, they didn't like it. My son had to ride the bus an extra hour every day because he couldn't cross the road there. And I think we owe it to the taxpayers to put that in right, just as much as we owe it Mr. Perry to put it in right, he should be investing in a property that he's gonna be very happy with and able to sell. And I think that adding a maintenance agreement cost to my lot has a lot to do with the value of my lot. Again, I don't have a problem at all with him putting a house up there. His family lives on Gibbs Road. They've done a great job maintaining their properties. He's been very upfront with me. I don't see any problem with that, but I do think it's gonna affect my lot value. I do think that you're gonna increase issues with accidents at that road, and we've had cars flipped. We've had, pardon me?
I didn't say anything.
We've had cars flipped out there because they got in ice ruts. And again, we've helped that drainage a lot. Drainage is, like Mr. Perry said, it's a lot more fixable than sight distance. You've got sight distance at one entrance, you don't have it at the other. As far as using that to get power and all of the utilities up there that he wants to keep his lot costs down, I would, and I would keep it open for fire access. But as far as stacking trash cans up down there, mailboxes up, trying to get kids across the school, and who wants to buy a house that their kid has to ride the bus an extra hour, you know? That's not gonna help anybody that builds up there. I think that we have to do it in a safe manner and in a way that respects everybody's property. Again, having Steve for a neighbor would be great. I have no problem with that. But we owe it to all the taxpayers, including Steve, to put a plan together to do it right. And it's not that expensive. I don't think he can do some, swale work. We had to do swale work and to protect our aerobic leach field, which I'm very concerned with down there. I can't let that get flooded. But all I said to the engineer is, the leach field's gonna be here, and what do we do here, and what do we do here? And he said, well, put a swale in here, and we drained it across the driveway now, so it goes further east and runs down there into the low area behind John Leafly's property. And John and I dug that and put in a 8-inch pipe or something. That works great. I've completely taken the swale out from under my driveway to the proposed road. I've taken that right out to force that water to go across there and go down into that lower area behind the Leafly property. So that works very well. And all that you do just with swales, you don't have to have pipes and pumps and expensive equipment down behind all these properties is a big help.
I have a question. So you have an easement now or no easement?
No, we have easements now.
Okay, and why would that change?
I think it's because they want us, the taxpayers, to take over the maintenance on this thing, so the town's not responsible. And I don't want to sign that.
Well, the town's not responsible now, are they?
No, they're not. But if they add road driveways to it, where do they become responsible?
It's not with an added.
Not with one
Right.
added house on that property, and according to our zoning codes, he's allowed to build one house on that property.
Okay, so then you can understand why I don't want to sign an easement that says I'm responsible for maintenance. Even though I do it now, I want to go to Florida. I'm gonna retire probably this year. I don't want to sit down there in the nice weather and worry about this, And no matter what I do, I can't fix a sight distance for him.
Yeah.
And he has sight distance on the other entrance. That's my whole point. One is safe and fixable, and one is not safe and not really fixable. I mean, if I had to stand the trees or something and he came to me and said, it'd help me a lot if you cut those down, we could talk about that, but there's no stand of trees to cut down, and everybody that puts a trash can out there or goes to get their mail's gotta go to Broadfield Road. And I know that there's no sight distance because when Spruce Ridge was put in, one of the developers was married into my family. And he was livid because they wouldn't let him bring a roadway out across that. Because there was no sight distance, and they dug the bank back and everything, and they still wouldn't allow that. Because there's no sight distance. And that's just a roadway. That doesn't have trash cans, that doesn't have mailboxes, that doesn't have school buses. And they still wouldn't allow it because of sight distance. And the people that Steve bought the property up of are fully aware of the sight distance issue on the east entrance. And that there's sight distance on the west entrance. I don't see any need to further the problems. If he has, he's the first guy that wants to build there that has an option. Okay, he doesn't have enough right of way to make it a lot. It's pre-existing, but he still has an option, a safe option. And the people down the hill that are upset about drainage, they're basically upset because nothing's been done for them. And I don't think it's that expensive to put a swale in, I'm not asking to put retaining ponds and pumps and do all the failure analysis that goes with that. Just put a swale in. That's what we did. And that'll keep it off the back of their property. And it'll keep it from getting to the road. And it'll be better for everybody. It's, you know, it's like I say, as far as keeping it open, that will help protect. And if there's a grass fire, or something, I was in the fire department for 14 years, and sometimes you gotta get in tight places. And if they need that, that should remain open for access to protect the other properties. That's not a problem. The problem becomes when you put trash cans and mailboxes and school buses and everything else involved. You know, now with the automatic lift, thing, that truck stops and it's gonna do however many trash cans are there. Granted, nobody has to get out of the truck, but somebody's gonna get mad driving around that trash truck right on top of that hill. And there's gonna be a problem. And I'm concerned with that because if I sign something that says I'm gonna maintain that property. I really don't feel that's my obligation. I certainly am, you know, I already have an easement, so I'm not gonna sign it. One that puts, you know, more pressure on me. And I really don't think Steve should have to deal with it all himself. I think that if he uses the better access, he'll do fine. He can put 1 or 2 houses on there, and I don't see a problem with that. He's got, you know, there's an old gravel bed up in there, so there's gravel to build the road up. He's got a lot of stuff on that land. My land didn't perk.
Hey, George,
I know this,
George,
so,
it's been 5 minutes and I.
okay, well, I said my land didn't perk. We went to his land and got stuff that perks, so he can get by with all he needs.
What's your arrangement right now with your neighbor to the east that you share that driveway with?
We do fine. It's.
No, but I mean, so you've got no written agreement as far as.
No, we've tried to have different people plow. And it never works out. They start pushing rocks in the lawns or they push it across the street. Because coming up that driveway, you can plow about 3 times and then you can't push it anymore. Unless you're in there with a payloader or something like that. And we've gone to snowblowers. He's got a snowblower, I've got snowblowers. And I can take care of that whole thing myself, and so can he. Once you add the increased distance and stuff, that's gonna be another issue, but.
Right.
I think I'm gonna leave the snowboard for the next owner, you know?
We understand. Thank you for your comments, George.
Yeah, I would just like to scan a little bit to that.
Your
My name's Kathy Holden. I live with this guy, although I work in Buffalo a lot, okay? So, we've lived there going on, well, we were building for part of that time, but going on 40 years. And so we know a lot about that driveway. We know about all of the accidents that have happened over the course of time. We know that the work that they have done, when they did it, Mr. John across today isn't always helped. Has not helped financially, has not helped, always, you know, other ways. Sometimes we had somebody plowing and he was going to use them to plow also, and then he didn't pay. So they've been a few issues. Then they push from his driveway over into our yard and wreck our yard. But anyway, okay, so these things happen. We kind of have had to deal with them. But in the springtime, still, there are days where our driveway out to the road, sheer ice. It's nothing but water on ice. And we have developed our methods for getting down it and not going out into the road, but it is not a safe area. And, you know, sometimes it's because it's only 1 car wide, you cannot have 2 cars. You cannot have a car coming off and another car coming down. Simultaneously, it does not work. And so, you know, there have been times where we got so much snow, we had to pull into the bottom of the driveway and wade our way up through to get to our you know, snow equipment to start to begin to clear it, to get the car out. It's not a good area. I do like your idea about going to the county
to see if we could get them to address that. I don't know if we could, but I like that concept.
Thank you.
Anybody? Yes, Ms. Burns.
Karen Burns, I live 7864 Broadfield Road. We live on the west side of the creek. And we've been coming because we have been concerned about more stuff going in that's gonna create drainage problems. I feel like there's not a perfect solution to this. That's what I think we're hearing here, but I do feel like one of the things we requested in the beginning was to actually do some of the looking at the property and what can be done about the drainage and those kinds of things. And that didn't happen because the other board just was dealing with one problem. Can you subdivide the things? So this is probably the board to decide about what is going to be the right thing so that if the Holdens are saying there's no sight distance, I agree with that. I think I've been concerned about that since the first meeting. I walked that road, my family walked that road, and people are going real quickly. You have to make sure you're out of the way and stuff, and coming up over those hills is hard. So I don't disagree with that, but it seemed like maybe putting in a real road might have helped, but there's been no suggestion of that. So we're just keeping narrow driveway that people are gonna have to keep, do upkeep for, rather than having something else go in that may make the whole thing safer. Similarly, the other area down by Sioux, yeah, the sight distance is a whole lot better because it's down low at the bottom of all that drainage. We had requested having some, again, work done on the site to see what would have to be done. And it doesn't seem like I understand that Mr. Perry doesn't want to invest that money, and I understand that, but where does the responsibility lie in trying to make the land usable for him, since that's what he bought it for? And yet protecting everybody else, whether it's the drivers on the road, the kids, the school buses, those of us who are at the low end of the hill and down by the stream where we get, we've had drainage problems for a really long time. So I guess I'm wondering, what is it that can be done so that everybody could feel comfortable about, well, this is a good thing, and you're right. Mr. Perry's family does live around the corner, and we all walk by and talk to them all the time, and I can see where he's trying to build things, but I still think over concern.
I'm Colleen O'Leary. I live at 4269 Fraser Burr. I'm here to speak for myself and also for my neighbor, Andrew Hefner, who was unable to be here tonight. He submitted a list, page and a half of comments. He forgot to leave it for the last meeting, which I will give to you tonight. Some of it applies to the original plans submitted by Mr. Perry to subdivide the lot, so it may not be applicable. He does, however, raise a number of concerns about drainage, the environmental concerns of anybody developing that land. Tonight, I've understood that Mr. Perry finds himself owner of a property that doesn't meet code because of access issues. We've had a lot of discussion here since.
Excuse me, it meets code if he builds one house on it.
Okay,
Yes.
but only because there's been access approved to a road, because it was a 200-foot easement requirement.
Right, correct.
Okay, that's what I meant. It's a landlocked property. We've had a lot of discussion over almost 6 months now, and part of my personal concern is that this property is listed for sale by Canaan Realty. And I want to make sure that anything that the board decides is decided for future owners. So we don't all have to come back and go through this again. Is that the case when you make a decision?
The decision as tonight is for a lot line adjustment. If there is a condition to be listed on the map, when the map is filed with the county, anybody that buys that property hopefully is doing due diligence and notes what the conditions and notes are.
But yes, we do make our decisions up here with the future in mind.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think you probably don't want to be here again to go through all of this, and certainly I don't think our neighborhood does either. I will not read Mr. Hefner's comments because most of them apply to the situation that we all thought we were coming here to talk about, but I will submit them to you for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else wish to speak before I go back to Mr. Miller? Okay, Phil.
It was my understanding, and I apologize if I imposed upon your sequence of discussion here. this
Thank
evening. And I have to defer to Jamie for this, but I thought the town law 274A authorizes the planning board their power to review and approve with modifications or disapprove site development plans in accordance with the provisions of 165-44 of the Code of Town.
Only for non-residential. It's for commercial, yeah.
It's going on.
So, right, anyone can pull a permit to build a house.
Apologize.
No, that's fine. People think that.
Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, I make a motion to close public hearing.
Before you do that, Sue, you guys understand what happened here in terms of the changes? Everybody clear on that? I know you do because you live right there, but you folks, do you understand what's changed?
I want clarification. At one point, we've gone to the zoning board of appeals and they had decided that the lower access was not going to be used. So am I now hearing you say that it could be?
If he chose to have the 2 lots, which he's not doing now. Correct. So that variance had to do with 2 building lots. He's not doing that now. He's only doing 1.
Okay.
So essentially that,
So it's in the hands of this board.
right now it's in the hands of us, yes.
So that's why that sort of almost like a moot point now because we're not subdividing it. So it really is.
Correct.
Well, there is a subdivision pending. It's just not the one we thought it was.
That's the lot line
It's a lot
adjustment.
line, right, it's the little.
Yeah. Yeah, just to get the accessories on the right property.
Motion to close public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I'm gonna make one comment and further that it. Indeed, looking at this new map, lot 2 stays as the 17 and approximately half acre there. And going up and down Broadfield Road and looking and, yeah, site distance there is not good. And we talk about mitigatable and non-mitigatable. What's easier, what's not easier, is get through the county or whatever. I guess it devil's advocate or whatever, but the lower access, I believe, would be far safer for access to Broadfield Road. And with proper engineering and drainage, water situation could be helped. If we restrict it back to more easterly access, we could still have some drainage issues, but we're just, I think, making a bad situation worse with access to Broadfield Road. And like they said, the mailboxes and the trash cans and et cetera, et cetera.
Drainage isn't just on Broad, it's all over the whole property. My whole property gets underwater.
Point of order, please. Public hearing is closed. We understand that it comes down, you're on the lower side of the property. It's a loosely defined or concept of access to. The whole lot would be looked at or should be looked at if they're building the house and engineering looking at it. Or as other people have said, they're building their house and then, okay, how can we move the water? Okay, put the swale in, put the drains in. It's a work in progress. First and foremost for this board is subdividing the land, which in this case, the subdivision is just moving the lot line. this lot already had two pre-existing 60-foot openings out to the road. If we're not subdividing into another lot. As I said, this wouldn't even been before us. It would have gone to our codes enforcement officer and gone on from there. So I think this is our chance to say, okay, at this point, lot two, if it's a buildable lot, it's just one house at this point. And the access, I would prefer to see it on the western side, that I think some drainage could be helped along the way, and if and when somebody's building something there. My 2 cents.
I agree.
Agree.
I would be interested before we make, before this board makes a determination, I would like to see the existing ingress and egress easement that's in favor of the Holdens and an Apex, like what gives them the access.
Yeah.
Because I know that one of the conditions we had talked about was that this, that there's going to be this easement that's going to be executed, and Mr. Holden says he's not going to sign it. That doesn't necessarily prevent this from happening, but it may prevent a condition, and we want to see what's there. Because we sure don't want to put on a condition that's not obtainable.
Right. I think it kind of brings to light also like shared driveways and, people can say this current generation that, oh, I get along fine with my neighbor. Well, land and property sells over time, and down the road, maybe you don't get along with your neighbor. And then when you start looking at trying to share your accesses, that it becomes more difficult to sell property. Or once you get in there and realize, yeah, I don't like the neighbor over there and what transpires from it. It's all things to look at and consider. You're shaking your head.
So, yeah, I just would say, if you're thinking of going that route, you might have a condition that any building that occurs on here would require a town engineer to review. What type of oversight that can be provided for the development of that lot? Drainage issues are mitigated.
Question. If I were to file for a building permit, is now that addressed at that time? Doesn't the code enforcement officer look at the drainage?
Theoretically, and sometimes he will call me, but I think what I'm just suggesting here is we'll codify that to make sure it happens.
Okay.
And I think we're okay with that. What we want to avoid would be having to do the site plan
review.
process.
Correct.
Unless I chose to try to use the lower driveway, then obviously we realize there's some drainage issues there that would have to be addressed. That would require a site plan review. I understand that.
Although I think there's some indication that this board may want that to be the access and not the other. Is that what I'm hearing, Sue?
That's
from
what
you?
you said, yeah.
That's my take on it.
And so then the idea would be when he went to pull a building permit, the driveway, the drainage for the driveway, the drainage around the house would be looked at that time.
Referred to our engineer.
Town engineer, yes. That would give the oversight, the ability for the town to look at all the drainage issues and make sure they're addressed.
Okay, and then as far as access now, if it's just being, if he's not building on it, he can still access it from the existing drive. I don't know if you want the property or not.
This time I don't.
Just so we know, like if he's got to put a driveway in, like if you're favoring that westerly drive, is it something you'd have to put a driveway in, or can it wait until he's ready to build?
There's now.
He has access.
That easement, he has access now. That won't change.
We're talking about using the westerly access. I think we could all agree that the nicest part of that property is the southeast corner. It's the highest part, it's the driest part, it's the part that's gonna perk the best. That would be a 1/4 mile driveway. To use the nicest part of the property. I understand the thought process behind it, but it's a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 driveway just to put stone in and clear it. I mean, it's unrealistic. Unless you're dealing with somebody that has millions of dollars, which I don't. So if you're gonna restrict me to the lower access, I'm not even interested in moving forward at this point. I'd rather table the whole thing and figure out what I want to do, because that handcuffs me, in my opinion. I'm not saying I wouldn't consider it, but until I know exactly where I want to put the house, it's hard for me to say what my best point of access is. And I understand the slight distance issues, but you've had two homes on that for 40 years. To penalize me, not be able to use a driveway that I technically own, I don't think that's fair. And I don't even care about the shared responsibility part. That was something I tried to address because I felt the board had asked me to address that. I'm not worried about the shared responsibility. There's been no verbiage in the easement to this point about any responsibility. They've just found a way to do it. So if you want to make it all my responsibility to maintain it, I don't have an issue with that. And I don't think anybody that's going to spend the money to build a house back there would have issue with it, because they have to drive across it every day. And I've met Mr. Holden and I've met Mr. Leafley. I have no doubt I could work with them. And I understand that there's neighbors that maybe I won't get along with. But you're talking about, when it's all said and done, $750,000 minimum to build a house back there. I don't think it's going to be a problem to fill a couple potholes. That's the concern. There's already trash cans out there. There's been buses stopping out there for 20 years. You know, I mean, I don't feel by adding a house back there, you're truly compounding the problem. Just my opinion. I think the problem existed long before I bought the property. And to tell me that I own almost 19 acres in your town and I can't build a house on it where I want, I think that's unfair. As long as it falls within your codes. Obviously, if I needed a variance and follow the proper procedures, which I've tried to do.
You can build it there right now. It's what she's saying.
Four years ago, it got approved. I don't know.
I guess I would say that maybe we don't.
Well, in my opinion, I think we give him his lot line adjustment and call it a night. And I think he's got the rights he has, he's not forfeiting any rights, and he can. Property owner, he can. Make his decisions what he wants to do. And we can condition it that we prefer the western line, but if he decides he wants to use it. Or get the approval of our town engineer, so.
I think
Of the easterly line, or the westerly line, so.
Yeah. I do think maybe at this time, it would probably be best for us to, if we can hold off any sort of decision until the next meeting, just so we have a chance to discuss what's being laid out in front of us with that.
Fraser Fur Road, that elevation is above your property?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the issue of drainage, it's not just coming from your property, it's coming from that whole hillside down to Limestone Creek.
Right.
It's not just your property, you're getting water from. Yeah.
There's a small area up there behind Fraser Fur now that appears as though one time it was a quarry, or they had dug it out that
Yeah.
old water. And I think that's probably helping the situation. You know, as far as.
Yeah, that takes a lot of the water out of Fraser Fur.
And it drains it down behind Mr. Leafley's house.
Yeah.
So what you were saying is if we should be able to just do the lot line adjustment. Do everything else. Future.
Well, I think with the lot line, I would like to condition that Western. That he at least gets, that our town engineers involved with that.
If you
Building
use the Westerly driveway.
Mhm.
That before building permit is issued, the town engineer would review.
But he's telling us he doesn't like that idea because it's gonna be too
Well, it's
costly.
a
to build a
choice.
house.
Right.
I'm not saying he has to use it. Saying if he does.
If he does use it. But he can continue to use the other one because it's his
Right.
property anyway, right? Yeah.
I think we just so, because if we're going to do this map and you do decide to do that lot line adjustment, I'm sure they would not mind waiting one more meeting we want to make sure that it's right. We haven't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, wait till the next meeting to do the lot line adjustment.
Yes, that's what they decided they want.
I think that might be best, just to make sure that. We're all on the same page and what would be agreed. That would work for me.
It's taken until next meeting.
Let's not get Christmas off, huh?
When's our next meeting?
December. December 18th. Yeah. December 18th, so. It's the correct phrase, table it.
It seems to be the request of council and.
And council, we will not make a decision tonight. We will revisit this discussion on Wednesday, December 18th.
Wednesday?
Monday.
Monday the 18th.
That really.
The town website, so people who are here can see it.
As long as I can get a digital copy of it.
Will that be something? Public hearings closed now. So on the 18th, I'm saying.
No.
Is that what you're saying? Change the date. Either revised date or.
Yep, yeah, I gotta know, change the date.
Got those right now we're looking at. That's good.
The question was, is there, the public hearing's closed, but if people have, when this gets posted, if you have written comments, then you should send them.
Some red ones in, we'll read them.
Thank you so much. It sounded a little bit,
Well, I hope you would read that.
of course.
We do.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. In terms of having your children on the bus for an extra hour, if you knew my kids, you'd want them on the bus. Exactly. For the high hours. My brother guys there.
Well, I did write some stickers.
That's your go-to.
That's my go-to. I have one now. I wasn't sure.
It's like they come up, right? Is that the kind of?
Extra ones. Okay,
Back to.
My office photos.
okay, so next up is the El Hindi subdivision. We'll be opening a public hearing on an application for subdivision of land located on Ridge Road in the tax map number 0-04-02-1.
And you're representing the applicants?
Here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Elder, I'm Ted Spencer. Compared to what we went through tonight, this should be pretty plain vanilla. I hope.
Agreement?
Not,
Did you do the power agreement?
I don't think so.
Good to see you.
We'll blame that on Scott Chat.
Yeah, there you go, there you go.
So this is Mr. Alhidi owns a 40-acre lot. He'd like to break off roughly 10 acres and gift it to his nephew. There's no development proposed. Not sure what else to tell you.
From the county.
Yeah.
Regarding
Was a little bit goofy. It kind of said, we're not going to tell you, go back to your own surveyor and ask him to figure it out.
And on the west side of Metro.
It's on the east side, as I recall. South of the number 5 road.
South of where?
The number 5 road.
Lot 2 is what he wants to subdivide off. He's gonna go from Ridge Road all the way to the back of the property line.
Right.
And there's no gap or anything. Here.
So the 2 cable markers are noted. Ask the surveyor, if there are safety markers for underground utility lines.
So why aren't we fixing that? Why? Because here's my question. I don't have a problem.
Yep.
Can we get rid of this 30-foot access somehow and just neaten that up?
I can ask. Yes, what do you suggest? We work out some deal with this guy that.
Like we were,
maybe it's just
I think it was.
That was, yeah, I don't know how it got to be where it is. That lot got sold off in like 1965, so it's been there a while. And so I'm not.
Look at what happened. I mean, you say,
Yeah.
see what happened?
Yeah, I'm trying to make.
Yes.
Do you know who owns the next door property after that?
It's not off the top of my head.
Unless Van Derden wraps around it.
Well,
Oh, good, send it. And attach it either to Van, you know.
Yes.
That can't, that's just not good planning. I would say either attach it to this guy we see right there, or attach it to this, either attach this guy or this guy.
The behind guy.
You can attach the behind guy, or you can attach it to this guy. Which means, I mean, I don't know who would possibly complain, but they'd have to sign the application for the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll pick it up.
This doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, with these and see, I just, sorry, I didn't appreciate that that was a concern. Bradley was here at the last meeting. The cable box.
To get in.
No, to me, it's more than 30 feet if.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if the roof is shut.
Ironic. Also has.
Okay. Must have been a 60s thing.
Anyway, it's subdividing. No one can.
Right.
One of my houses I had.
So we're gonna make that a contingency of the.
That might, yeah, no, unless.
Let me see.
Okay.
Is there a farm driveway now on that?
There is.
There is a farm driveway.
You can almost.
Yeah.
Picture.
Yeah, exactly.
There are the two places where tractors access the properties.
Oh. Oh.
You can see how the roads.
Yes, that's kind of here.
So this is Wasman's old place?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Because
So.
Mr. Alkendi is Mark Wasman's.
Are we talking about over yonder?
Yeah, well, she was standing there doing this for this.
Guys.
I wish it was too, I miss them. Yeah, we all do.
Exactly.
No.
Acres, 31 acres.
PCC has reviewed what we were given. They reviewed subdivision application on the short environmental assessment form. And they had no comments and they did not give a recommendation. Not applicable because they said so no significant impact on the town of Pompey. That looked over application, John or. Let's.
Get rid of that 30. Yes.
That's.
I know we talked about it at the last meeting, and I don't know. I guess maybe we said do something about it, or we were waiting for the public hearing, or what we think that it was.
I think I saw it, that we didn't know what it was, we wanted to find out if we could. turn
Get
the
rid-
items there.
We still have an unanswered. I think we're all in consensus if we could eliminate that sliver one way or another, it would be.
Yeah, and I asked why it got created like it did, and nobody could recall it. Like I said, it dates back to the mid-60s.
It's not doing anything for anyone.
No, nope, not sure why it's there unless whoever bought that hook back in 1965 didn't want to deal with the underground power lines if they were in place at that point. I don't know. Because that's the only function it seems to serve. There's underground utilities that go through there.
Anyway, okay, based on information that we have and review that we've done, we can do seeker at this point. Before we open public hearings. So again, series of 11 questions, answered by no or small impact. Or the other answer would be moderate to large impact. Number one, will the proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No or small impact, but it's just a 2-lot subdivision with no building occurring. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of land for the same reasons, no or small impact? Will the Proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community, no or small impact.
Agreed.
Will a proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No or small impact. Will a proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No or small impact. Will a proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies and the public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No or small impact to both of those. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No or small impact. Will a proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No or small impact. Will proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No or small impact. And lastly, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No or small impact. Based on these findings, I make a motion for a negative declaration.
I'll second.
Second by John Shaheen, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. With that, I make a motion to open, actually, let's go back one. This has been advertised and notice was submitted. Okay, based on this, I make a motion to open tonight's public hearing on the El Hindi subdivision.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak? Please stand, state your name and address, please.
I'm David Fregley, 1912 Ridge Road. So my property is the one right next door to.
You're the one with the 30 feet next to it.
That's what I'm curious of seeing a map. I would love to see a map. If I could view one, that would be fantastic. I've been trying to figure out the history of these properties since I moved in. Yeah, so this is on the immediate side and there's the field.
Right, yeah, there's your shed right there.
Yeah.
So basically what we're asking, is there a way that this line, this way, when it become one of those, just get rid of the 30 foot, because you sat through Roman home through the 6 lot.
Yeah, that would be fine.
And then, are you familiar with those markers that are in also with you?
I don't see, there's nothing in those woods. There's some let's be dead ash trees and I mean, there's like a line marker for the power company. All right, but that's probably what this one is. This one's there. Okay, that one, I don't. Something back in there. That one's there. Okay, so one of them's here.
This far end, the big line would be drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is now. Right.
Yeah, because this wooded area right here, because this is clear. This is all.
Yeah.
This is field here, but this area next to my house where the Norway spruce are. On the other side of that, there's a okay, there's there's me. And that's the macro's house.
Yeah, you didn't make it on that picture.
But yeah, this yeah, so it's fine.
What was the conclusion?
Life is good.
He wants the 30 feet or he.
Yeah, taking 30 feet. Yeah, they got the price got 30 feet. Well, it's fine. It's manifest destiny, right? All right.
So
That was your only question?
That was it, yes, that was it, just to see the map and see what the 30
the
feet
map.
was.
That was
Yep,
the
there it
30
is. Fantastic. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else was to speak? Silence is golden. Make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So if we're going to, if they're actually going to do that. You draw the map, have Mr. Right. Sign off on it, get the map over here and we could approve it next time. That's my recommendation.
Yep.
If your guy is okay with deeding
Find out.
that off
Yep.
and.
You don't want to do this one contingent?
I don't like to do any of them contingent, but. Yeah. Because it's a whole different map, right? I mean, it's, yeah, like, here's the map, we'll approve it.
Okay.
We can get it, if he wants to give it to him by Christmas, we'll get it done next time, right?
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, Mr. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm not Spencer, I know.
Freely, Franklin.
Freely?
Need to sign.
He needs to sign the application. Did he leave?
You just.
Cheapers.
Before he changes his mind.
You know, where, yeah, right. Right. Yeah, sign the application, fix the map, and then if there's no other questions, then we'll be different,
Just motion and approve it next time.
right?
Okay, I'll talk to Mr. Eldred and see where we go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good to see you
Ted.
again, man. Good to see you guys.
Okay. Almost there. Hold on.
Not getting enough work. That's go home.
Did you do power nap while you were?
No, I started working at 5 a.m.
Last but not least.
I can tell you
Your
about this
patience.
footage, we can see if we can work something out. The reason why it's there, this application is,
Well, one second. Sorry. Paletta subdivision, review of an application for subdivision of land located at 3001 Gardner Road in the town of Pompey. Tax map number 017-01-05.1. And these are much clearer to read. You know.
For Steve.
I like to share.
It's not worth though. It's still a muscle.
You want something. Yeah. Okay. Come on up and speak.
yeah, so here for Mr. Valado. We're selling off the parcel A and then. You're driven by the property, like there's kind of a driveway there, but it's nothing that's approved. He had some logging work done on the property and they used. That 30-foot strip to get access to. Eastern part of the property and he. Wants to be able to continue to have that access back there. Obviously, an easement could be reserved over it. I don't think the buyer would probably have that. Big of a deal. You don't mind if he did that. Comes out the same way. You know, you still be able to use the property, so. If you want me to discuss that with him, I can certainly do that. It's not a. Big change. I just make it, the lot possibly might be a hair bigger, we did 30 by 95. Or I don't know if you could just. move it over 30 feet and then just reserve.
Either, like, if he's only selling 5, then he has to take a sliver off this side and move it, but
Yeah.
I think we're trying to clean up these things because the reason we were here was.
Yeah, I tried to dissuade him from that, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's then years later, they're like, what's this sliver doing here and the sliver over there? So we're trying to discourage that.
Right. I think as long as he has access to the back of the property, he should be fine.
No,
That's the main concern.
That's related to the easement.
Yeah,
Because he's got all this other access though.
yeah, he has tons of other access. It's just like,
He can retain it. He can
it's already there.
divide it all the way over and then internally they can retain an easement.
Mhm.
But before
Yeah, it
they
doesn't-
sell it, just because there's some kind of logging road there, but he's got plenty of other access. We're not creating that same situation that is created on that first.
Right, because there is other access, right?
And, but there's,
Plenty of access.
and there's a lot more access. There's not just.
Yeah,
It's on 2 roads.
But. I would.
I know, I would prefer not to see that 30 foot there.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if it was moved over and it was like 60 or 100, nobody would say anything, but just because it's a sliver.
30.
Sticks out.
Right.
That's fine.
No, if it was the 60, we still wouldn't like it because of that problem we were just.
Yeah.
I think we need to start, looking at the reasonable development of land, like, so if this guy comes in and he wants to like block off this little, then you're gonna have that same issue perpetuates, because there's all this back.
It's like looking at that Nugebauer parcel there, like that trapezoid, where'd they come up with that?
That I think was sold off like a long time ago.
They came up with the shape of that.
That
I don't know.
It's bizarre, yeah.
Definitely not conforming.
Yeah, that's.
Their house there?
Yeah.
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 I heard that.
I mean, even it looks like that, even with Scanlon, the one only has 180 feet of frontage, why it's 200 now, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
But I can discuss that with him and then we can submit a revised map to you guys prior to.
If we had it prior to the 18th, then you might be able to get approved in the
It
18th.
would be like, we'd like to try to close this year.
Yeah. You can get that discussed.
Public hearing.
Mhm. Yeah, no problem. I can get the surveyor to revise it pretty quickly.
Sooner than later.
Yes.
We could.
And I can submit a digital copy before I might be able to get hard copies.
Oh, yeah, Michael Cully will send digital, so go ahead and send that.
Yeah.
You can send it to me also directly.
Okay,
I'll send it to John and send it to the township.
yeah, otherwise,
It's just
that's that. Okay.
I don't think I was notified as a part of that. I think that will go out from Tim.
It's covered. Okay. You will have to advertise for, or you'll have to advertise, send out a letter to the neighbors for a public hearing.
Me?
If it work with Sarah, they'll give you, the applicant has to send out letters to all the neighbors within 1,000 feet of this
Right.
property. So when you're on 2 roads, so. Figure that out, but she'll give. With Sarah, she'll give a list of all the addresses and a sample letter.
All right.
So public hearing will be scheduled for December 18th.
Right.
Meeting starts.
What else is gonna be on the agenda that night? Is that other one, the other one's gonna be on there? So I'm gonna show up at 8:30 then.
we're selling spots.
That's up to the chair. If you think it's gonna go long, then I would put something.
Front, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know those were gonna go so long.
No cost. No.
Yeah, we'll put it at the head of the pack.
I don't see any other issue than. I'd like to see the 30 feet.
Yeah, understood.
So, I mean, those with between Ted, well, we already even did super on Ted's. That's Spencer's, so that
Should be.
should be fast. Fixes that.
There's issues on this one, it's top of the hill. I want Gardner. It's being sold, I don't know what the buyer's doing, so.
What the house for other. You know what the house for other auction,
What house?
the house,
Oh, that he sold? No, I'm not sure, I wasn't working with it. Here it is, trying to, you know. Money off there.
Yeah, we're not gonna do the. I was worried that we're cops, but. It's just. Everything happened, you get something.
Thank everybody. Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Hi, Kevin, all in favor? Aye. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.